Regret is heavy. It presses down, it twists the stomach, it rattles the mind, and sometimes it makes people believe that what's done can never be undone. But let me tell you something. The fact that someone feels deep regret for hurting you is proof that they have seen a reflection of their actions in the mirror of conscience. And you, standing here, carrying the weight of that hurt, have the power to transform it into something extraordinary. You don't need to let their mistakes define your peace. You are the gatekeeper of your own energy, the captain of your own ship, and no apology, no amount of regret can truly heal you unless you give yourself permission to rise above it. Remember, anger and resentment are like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. They will never touch the other person. They only corrode your spirit. Let their remorse be a lesson for them, not a leash for you. Show strength not by retaliation, but by elevation. Elevation means living so fully, so boldly, so authentically that their regret becomes a whisper against the roar of your triumph. And in this journey, your forgiveness isn't for them, it's for you. It's a declaration that your life will not be controlled by someone else's missteps. Take their regret, acknowledge it, but don't let it weigh down your wings. Rise, soar, and let your light burn so brightly that it makes the darkness of their mistakes irrelevant. In this moment, you are not just surviving. You are redefining your own power, rewriting the story, and showing the world that true strength is not measured by revenge, but by unshakable grace, relentless courage, and unwavering forward momentum. So embrace your pain, convert it into wisdom, and move forward as the unstoppable force you were born to be. Regret is a powerful signal. When someone feels deep regret for hurting you, it means that somewhere inside their conscience has awakened. They've looked at their actions and finally seen the impact of what they did. That moment of realization is monumental, not for them, but for you, because it confirms that your value, your presence, your essence mattered enough to trigger that awakening. It's easy to get lost in bitterness and pain, to focus only on how they hurt you, but pause for a second and recognize the weight of this truth. Their regret is proof that you made an impression strong enough to stir remorse. And here's the key. While their regret belongs to them, your reaction to it belongs to you. You can choose to see it as validation, as evidence that you are someone who leaves a mark, someone whose feelings matter. This is not about forgiving them immediately or excusing what they did. It's about realizing that even in their failure, even in their misjudgment, you have power. You have the power to transform their regret into a mirror reflecting your strength, your worth, and the fact that you have risen above being a mere victim. When you internalize this, you stop being defined by their mistakes and start being defined by your resilience, your clarity, and your unshakable self-respect. Their regret is not your burden. It's a signpost of your influence, a reminder that even when people falter, your value is undeniable. When someone is in deep regret for hurting you, it's easy to focus only on the pain they caused, but there's a deeper, more powerful perspective if you choose to see it. Their regret is like a spotlight shining back on their actions, showing that they've finally confronted the truth of what they did. And that truth is not just about them, it's about you. It confirms that you mattered. You mattered enough that your presence, your trust, your feelings were significant enough to stir a deep, undeniable awareness of wrong. That's enormous because most people go through life leaving traces of indifference or carelessness behind them. But when someone regrets hurting you, it means your life, your character, your energy had an impact. Their regret is proof that you are never invisible, never irrelevant, and never replaceable. Now here's where the real power lies. You don't have to let their remorse control you. Their regret belongs to them, but your response belongs to you. You can let it be a source of validation rather than a source of pain. You can look at it and say, I mattered, I still matter, and their recognition of that doesn't change who I am or what I deserve. You have the chance to transform their regret into a mirror of your own strength, resilience, and self-worth. Their regret is a signal that you've influenced them in ways they are only now beginning to understand. And while their guilt might weigh heavily on them, it doesn't have to weigh on you. Instead, use it to elevate yourself, to reinforce your understanding of your own value, and to remind yourself that even in their misstep, you remain unshakable. You are the one who can turn someone else's recognition of error into your own affirmation of power. Their regret is not a burden. It is evidence of the impact of your life, your energy, and your presence in a world that too often takes kindness, loyalty, and integrity for granted. Your energy is your most precious asset, and no one else has the right to dictate how you feel, how you think, or how you respond. When someone has hurt you and is now in deep regret, it's tempting to allow their actions, their apologies, or their guilt to control your inner world. But that's exactly where most people get trapped. They hand over the keys to their own emotional kingdom, thinking that someone else's remorse, their shame, or even their intentions should determine their peace. Let me tell you something. It doesn't work that way. You are the gatekeeper of your own life. You are the one who decides whether their regret becomes a burden or a lesson, whether it destroys your day or strengthens your spirit. Your energy is sacred and it is non-negotiable. You have the power to take what they have done, what they feel, and transform it into fuel for your own growth, your own strength, your own unstoppable momentum. Think about it. When someone regrets hurting you, they are living with a shadow of their own making. They are replaying their mistakes, feeling the weight of their conscience, and trying to make sense of how they let it happen. But you don't have to live in the shadow of their guilt. You don't have to absorb their shame or allow it to seep into your life. Instead, you can rise above it. You can choose to remain calm, clear, and in control. Your energy, your focus, your mindset, these are yours to protect and nurture. When you operate from that place of self-mastery, no one else's actions can shake you. Their regret becomes irrelevant to your trajectory because your life is no longer reactive. It is proactive. And here's the beauty of it. Protecting your energy doesn't mean ignoring them or pretending nothing happened. It means understanding your boundaries, valuing your peace, and recognizing that your response is far more powerful than their remorse. It's about taking ownership of your life and refusing to let external circumstances dictate your happiness, your confidence, or your success. You don't have to wait for apologies to feel whole. You don't have to rely on their change to feel strong. Your energy is yours. And when you claim it fully, you become unshakable, unstoppable, and untouchable. You rise above the noise, the guilt, the mistakes, and you step into the version of yourself that no one else can define, no one else can hurt, and no one else can control. That is real power. That is mastery. That is freedom. When we talk about controlling your energy, we're talking about something that's fundamentally life-changing. Most people wander through life letting circumstances, other people's opinions, or past wounds dictate their emotions, their decisions, and ultimately their destiny. But when someone has hurt you and is now drowning in regret, you are presented with a moment of profound choice. You can either allow their remorse to define your emotional state, make you anxious, bitter, or resentful, or you can step into the higher ground of self-mastery. This is where true power resides, the ability to separate your inner world from the chaos outside. Imagine standing in a room while a storm rages outside. The wind lashes against the walls. The rain crashes down, yet you are calm, grounded, untouched. That storm is their regret, their guilt, their fear. You have the choice to remain untouched. Your energy is your kingdom. It is the currency of your life, the force behind your creativity, your relationships, your work, and your happiness. If you give it away freely to someone else's remorse or mistakes, you are weakening yourself. But if you hold it, protect it, and channel it wisely, you turn even someone else's regret into a mirror for your own strength. You look at it and say, I am the one in control here. Their guilt is theirs, and my life is mine. This is not passive. It's the most active, the most aggressive form of personal power because it means you are choosing your peace over chaos, your clarity over confusion, your strength over victimhood. Think about the energy it takes to be angry, to replay the hurt, to obsess over their mistakes. That energy could be fueling your growth, your achievements, your joy. By refusing to hand it over, by protecting your inner world, you turn every misstep, every regret, every wrong done to you into a stepping stone for your own rise. You're saying to the world and to yourself, no one has the right to steal my peace. No one has the right to dictate my emotions. I am the master of my life. And when you operate from this place, when you fully claim your energy, you become magnetic, unstoppable, and untouchable. People may regret their actions, but you remain unshaken. That is not just survival, that is victory, that is mastery, that is freedom in its purest form. Hurt is inevitable in life, but what defines us is how we respond to it. When someone has hurt you and is now in deep regret, it's easy to let that pain fester and convince yourself that their actions define your worth. You start replaying the moments over and over, asking why they did it, blaming yourself or feeling powerless. But here's the truth that changes everything. Their mistakes, their anger, their cruelty, their poor choices, they do not and will never define you. You are not a reflection of someone else's failure. You are not a product of their inability to act with integrity. You are the sum of your actions, your courage, your choices, and your resilience. Understanding this is one of the most liberating realizations you can ever have. Think about it. When someone hurts you, it's their story, not yours. Their bad decisions are theirs to carry, not yours to bear. You are the one who decides whether to remain a prisoner of their errors or to rise above them, stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever. You have a choice in every moment to let their actions pull you down into anger, resentment, or despair, or to reclaim your power and turn that hurt into a catalyst for your own growth. When you embrace the latter, you stop giving them the power to dictate how you feel. You stop letting their past mistakes interfere with your future victories. And here's where it gets really empowering. When someone is in deep regret for hurting you, it's evidence that they recognize the weight of their actions. That recognition belongs to them, but the lesson belongs to you. The lesson is that your life, your value, and your self-worth are untouchable by anyone else. You can feel the hurt, acknowledge it, even mourn it if you need to, but you do not have to carry it forever. You can transform it into energy, into focus, into drive. Every moment that you rise above their actions, every choice you make to honor your own integrity is a declaration. I am more than your mistakes. I am more than your hurt. I am not defined by you. You see, strength is not about revenge. Strength is about rising undeterred, untouchable, and unstoppable. Your resilience becomes the loudest statement in the room, the proof that you are not a victim of circumstance, but a master of your own destiny. Let their regret serve as a mirror that reflects not your pain, but your power. Let it remind you that their actions were temporary, but your value, your courage, and your life's trajectory are permanent. You are unshakable, unbreakable, and unstoppable when you claim this truth. When we truly grasp that hurt does not define us, we unlock a level of personal freedom few ever experience. Most people allow the actions of others to linger like a shadow, shaping their moods, their thoughts, and even their decisions. But when someone has caused you pain and is now steeped in regret, this is your opportunity to rise above. Their mistakes are theirs to carry. They are a reflection of their character, their choices, their struggles, not a reflection of your worth. You are not a product of someone else's failure, a victim of their poor judgment, or a prisoner of their cruelty. You are a force, a presence, a life full of potential that cannot be diminished by another person's inability to act with integrity. Every time you replay the hurt in your mind, every time you relive their words or actions, you are giving them power. But the moment you decide to step out of that cycle, the moment you acknowledge that their hurt belongs to them and not to you, you reclaim control. You choose to focus your energy on growth, on purpose, on building a life that no one's mistakes can sabotage. When you understand this, you stop being reactive. You stop living in the past. You start living in the power of your own choices. Their regret, their guilt, their remorse, it's their burden. Your life, your energy, your future, it's yours. And here's the transformative truth. The deeper their regret, the stronger your opportunity to rise. Their remorse is proof that they recognize the weight of their actions. And by surviving it, by choosing not to let it define you, you demonstrate strength they may never achieve. Every choice you make to live with dignity, to act with integrity, and to pursue your vision is a statement that you are not defined by what happened to you, but by how you respond. You are resilient. You are empowered. You are unstoppable. Pain, betrayal, regret, these are temporary. Your strength, your courage, and your self-worth, these are permanent. Let their regret remind you not of what they did, but of who you are, unshakable, untouchable, and destined to rise beyond the limitations of anyone else's failures. Every step you take away from bitterness and toward your own growth is a victory, a declaration that your life is yours and theirs cannot dictate its course. You are the master of your destiny, the architect of your peace, and the author of your own power. Holding on to anger and resentment is one of the heaviest burdens you can carry, yet most people cling to it as if it defines justice. When someone has hurt you and is now in deep regret, it's natural to feel anger bubbling up inside, to replay the wrongs, to imagine how things could have been different. But here's the truth. Anger doesn't punish them. Resentment doesn't correct their mistakes. Holding on to these feelings only corrodes your spirit, drains your energy, and distracts you from the life you are meant to create. Every moment you spend stewing in hurt is a moment stolen from your growth, your peace, your joy. You don't owe them your pain. You owe yourself freedom from it. Forgiveness isn't about condoning what happened, and it isn't about letting them off the hook. It's about reclaiming your power. When you forgive, when you release that grip on anger and resentment, you are declaring that no one else's actions will dictate your emotional state. You are saying, I am in control of my life. I am in control of my energy. I will not allow bitterness to consume me. This is the real essence of strength. It isn't retaliation. It isn't revenge. It isn't proving someone wrong. True strength is the ability to rise above, to maintain your clarity, to preserve your peace while others are drowning in their guilt or remorse. Imagine your life as a garden. Anger and resentment are like weeds. They grow fast, spread quickly, and choke the life out of the flowers you are trying to nurture. By holding on to them, you are allowing someone else's mistakes to dictate the conditions of your own growth. But when you choose to forgive, when you let go of the need for retribution, you remove the weeds. You make space for joy, for creativity, for love, and for opportunity to flourish. Their regret becomes a background noise rather than a cage that traps you. And here's what's incredible. The moment you release anger, you transform their regret from a source of tension into a mirror that reflects your resilience, your grace, and your power. You are no longer bound to their mistakes, no longer defined by their wrongs. You have taken the high road, the road of self-mastery, and in doing so, you become untouchable, unstoppable, and unshakable. Let your forgiveness be a statement, not to them, but to yourself, that your life, your energy, and your future belong to you, and no one's regret, no one's guilt, and no one's errors can ever take that away. True strength is not measured by how loudly you retaliate or how perfectly you make someone feel your pain. It's measured by how high you rise above it. When someone has hurt you and is now in deep regret, it's tempting to want revenge, to imagine them experiencing the same suffering you felt. But let me tell you, that is a trap. The moment you focus on retaliation, you hand over the keys to your own life, your own energy, and your own power. Real strength is found in elevation, in choosing to rise above the chaos, the pain, and the mistakes of others. It's about standing tall while the world around you trembles in uncertainty. It's about letting their regret serve as a mirror that reflects your ability to remain unshaken, unbroken, and unstoppable. Rising above doesn't mean you ignore the pain or pretend it didn't happen. It means you acknowledge it fully, you understand it, you learn from it, and then you refuse to let it define the trajectory of your life. Every hurtful word, every betrayal, every action that once threatened to break you becomes fuel for your growth, not chains that bind you. Elevation is choosing to focus your energy on what you can control, your thoughts, your actions, your destiny, rather than wasting it on what you cannot. It is choosing mastery over reaction, clarity over chaos, power over pain. When you elevate, something remarkable happens. Their regret, their guilt, their attempts to make amends, these become irrelevant to your momentum. You are no longer a prisoner of the past. You are no longer defined by someone else's mistakes. Instead, you are defined by your courage, your integrity, and your relentless pursuit of becoming the best version of yourself. Elevation turns every negative into a stepping stone. It turns every betrayal into a lesson. It transforms suffering into insight, disappointment into drive, and pain into power. And here's the secret that most people never grasp. When you rise above, you are sending a message louder than words ever could. You are saying, I am in control. I will not be pulled down by someone else's failure. I am stronger than their mistakes, wiser than their regrets, and more powerful than their actions can ever be. That is the essence of real power. That is the essence of living a life unshakable, untouchable, and unstoppable. Every time you choose elevation over retaliation, you prove to yourself and the world that nothing external can dictate your inner state. You rise, you conquer, you thrive. Forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood forms of strength in the world. Many people think it's about excusing someone else's behavior, pretending the pain didn't happen, or letting them off the hook. But real forgiveness is not for them, it's for you. When someone has hurt you and is now steeped in deep regret, their remorse is theirs to carry. Your peace, your clarity, and your life are yours to protect. Forgiveness is the ultimate act of self-mastery because it allows you to reclaim control over your emotional state. It is the moment you declare that no one else's mistakes, no matter how painful, will dictate your happiness, your energy, or your future. Holding grudges and nursing resentment keeps you tethered to the past. It's like carrying a backpack full of stones that never belong to you. Every time you relive the hurt, every time you allow the memory of their actions to surface as anger, you add weight to your own life, slowing down your progress, clouding your judgment, and stealing your joy. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean denying your feelings. It means making a conscious choice to release the hold that someone else's actions have over your inner world. It means saying, I am done giving my energy to what does not serve me. I am free from your mistakes, your guilt, and your regret. And when you forgive, something extraordinary happens. You transform pain into power. You shift from being a victim to being a victor. You are no longer a passive participant in the drama of life. You are now the author of your own story. Your forgiveness becomes a declaration that you will not allow bitterness to consume your life, that your value, your strength, and your potential cannot be diminished by anyone else. The person who hurt you may live with their remorse, but you live with purpose, with clarity, and with unstoppable momentum. Forgiveness is also a catalyst for growth. It frees up mental and emotional energy that can now be invested in your goals, your dreams, and your relationships. It allows you to rise above the noise, to focus on creating the life you deserve, and to operate from a place of peace and strength rather than chaos and reaction. By forgiving, not for them, but for you, you become unshakable. You become unstoppable. You demonstrate to the world that no one else's regret, guilt, or missteps can ever control the trajectory of your life. True freedom, true power, and true strength are born in that moment of conscious forgiveness. When you truly embrace forgiveness as a tool for your own liberation, you unlock a level of power that most people never even imagine. Most people waste decades carrying the weight of someone else's mistakes, replaying the pain over and over, letting it seep into every corner of their lives. But when you choose forgiveness, you make a conscious declaration. I will not let this define me. I will not let this control me. I am free. That freedom is the ultimate power because it allows you to operate at a higher level, unburdened by anger, resentment, or bitterness. You are no longer reacting. You are creating. You are no longer imprisoned by the past. You are designing your future. Forgiveness is not a one-time act. It's a continual choice. Each time memories surface, each time old pain tries to pull you back into the storm, you get to choose again. And each time you choose to forgive, you are strengthening your mental muscles, sharpening your focus, and solidifying your resilience. This is the kind of strength that can't be shaken by anyone else's words, actions, or mistakes. You are the master of your own emotional state. You are the guardian of your own life. And here's the remarkable part. When you forgive, you don't just free yourself. You elevate the space around you. Your peace becomes a force field. Your clarity becomes a magnet for opportunity. Your energy radiates strength and confidence. People will feel it. They will notice that you are untouchable, not because you are indifferent, but because you are empowered. And that empowerment is contagious. It influences how others treat you, how they respond, and even how they reflect on their own actions. Forgiveness also rewires your mind. It shifts your perspective from focusing on loss, betrayal, or injustice to seeing lessons, growth, and opportunity. It allows you to extract value from what once felt like only pain. You start to see that every misstep, every hurt, every regret carries a hidden gift. The chance to rise higher, to act smarter, and to become stronger than you were before. Ultimately, forgiveness is a declaration of self-respect. It's the ultimate act of courage because it takes immense strength to let go of anger when your instincts scream to hold on. When you forgive, you are saying to the world and to yourself that your life, your energy, and your future cannot be dictated by anyone else's mistakes. That is mastery. That is power. That is freedom. Turning pain into power is one of the most transformative shifts you can make in life. When someone has hurt you and is now in deep regret, it's natural to feel wounded, to replay the events over and over, and to question your worth. But here's the truth. Pain only has the power you give it. Every moment of suffering, every pang of betrayal, every memory of being wronged is an opportunity to rise stronger, smarter, and more resilient. Real power comes from taking the energy of that hurt and converting it into fuel that propels you forward rather than holding you back. It's not about denying the pain. It's about mastering it, understanding it, and using it as a catalyst to create a life that no one else can control. When you turn pain into power, you stop being a victim of circumstance. You stop replaying the hurt and asking, why me? Instead, you begin to ask, what can I learn? How can I grow? How can I rise above this? That shift in mindset changes everything. Suddenly, the hurt that once seemed like a heavy chain around your soul becomes a springboard, a launch pad, a call to action. You start to see that every wrong done to you has a lesson embedded within it. A lesson that, when applied, gives you an advantage, a clarity, a strength that no one else has. This transformation requires courage because it is not easy to face the pain head on and refuse to let it dominate you. It requires discipline to redirect the energy of anger, disappointment, or sadness into something constructive. But the payoff is enormous. Every time you make this choice, every time you choose growth over bitterness, you are building resilience, sharpening your focus, and demonstrating to the world and to yourself that nothing outside of you has the power to define your trajectory. Turning pain into power also redefines your relationship with people who hurt you. Their regret, their guilt, their remorse becomes irrelevant to your journey because your energy is now aligned with your goals, your purpose, and your growth. You are no longer entangled in their mistakes or their failures. Instead, you are rising above, stronger than before, untouchable in your focus, and unstoppable in your pursuit of the life you are meant to lead. The ultimate lesson here is simple. Pain is temporary, but the power you gain by mastering it is permanent. Every hurtful experience, every regret someone carries because of their actions becomes a stepping stone toward a stronger, more confident, more unstoppable version of yourself. You transform what was meant to break you into the very force that propels you to greatness. When you fully embrace the idea of turning pain into power, you realize that every hardship, every betrayal, every moment of hurt carries a hidden gift. Pain is not a wall, it's a teacher. It challenges you, pushes you, and forces you to confront your limits, to dig deeper, and to discover reserves of strength you didn't know existed. When someone has hurt you and is now in deep regret, it's easy to focus on the damage they caused, to replay the scenario, and to feel powerless. But the moment you shift your focus from what happened to what you can do with it, you step into a level of personal mastery few ever achieve. You start to see that their actions, their remorse, and their mistakes are merely catalysts for your own evolution. Pain becomes power when you refuse to let it harden you into bitterness. Instead, you let it sharpen you into clarity. Every wound becomes a teacher. Every betrayal becomes a lesson in boundaries. Every regret someone feels becomes a reminder of your influence and your impact. You begin to understand that your life is not defined by what others do to you. It's defined by how you respond. That realization is liberating because it puts you back in the driver's seat. No one else's mistakes, no one else's guilt, and no one else's regret can dictate your emotional state unless you allow it. This process requires intentionality and courage. It requires you to face the discomfort, to look directly at the hurt, and to decide, I am not going to let this hold me back. I am going to use this to rise. That choice transforms suffering into momentum. It transforms setbacks into opportunities. It transforms moments of weakness into foundations for strength. By converting pain into power, you reclaim your life, your energy, and your vision. You become a force that is untouchable because your trajectory is no longer reactive. It's proactive, deliberate, and unstoppable. And here's the most powerful part. When you turn pain into power, you inspire others without even trying. Your resilience, your strength, and your unshakable focus become a beacon. People see that life may try to knock you down, that others may hurt you or regret hurting you, but your spirit remains unbroken, your energy remains untamed, and your vision remains clear. That is true mastery. That is true power. That is what it means to rise above, to take control, and to transform every wound into the fuel that propels you toward greatness. Living boldly and authentically is one of the most powerful ways to reclaim your life after someone has hurt you. When someone has caused pain and is now in deep regret, it's natural to want to shrink, to hide, to protect yourself from future harm. But the truth is, hiding diminishes your power. Real strength, real fulfillment comes from stepping into your full self, unapologetically, without waiting for anyone else's validation or remorse. Living boldly means showing up in the world with courage, clarity, and conviction. It means embracing who you are, owning your worth, and refusing to let someone else's mistakes, their regret, or their actions dictate the scope of your life. Authenticity requires honesty with yourself. It requires asking, who am I when no one is watching? What do I truly value? What do I want my life to stand for? And then having the courage to align your words, your actions, and your choices with that truth. When someone has hurt you, it's easy to construct walls, masks, or facades to protect yourself. But those defenses, while seemingly safe, also limit your potential, your joy, and your power. True freedom, the kind that makes you unstoppable, comes when you embrace vulnerability and authenticity, when you show the world your real self, even after experiencing betrayal or regret. Living boldly is also about taking risks and stepping into challenges that push you beyond your comfort zone. It's about refusing to let fear or past pain dictate your decisions. When you move forward with courage, every step you take, every choice you make is a declaration. I am not defined by the actions of others. I am not limited by their mistakes. I am the author of my own life. Their regret may linger, but your energy, your focus, and your determination are untouchable. The beauty of bold, authentic living is that it radiates strength to everyone around you. People feel it. They notice it. They are inspired by it. Your life becomes a statement of resilience, proof that even in the face of hurt, pain, or someone else's regret, you can rise, thrive, and create a life that is true to you. You are no longer reactive, no longer restrained by fear, shame, or betrayal, you are alive, present, empowered, and unstoppable. Living boldly and authentically transforms every obstacle, every regret, every hurt into fuel that propels you toward your purpose, your greatness, and your destiny. Rewriting your story is one of the most liberating and transformative acts you can undertake. When someone has hurt you and is now drowning in deep regret, it's easy to feel trapped in a narrative of pain, betrayal, or injustice. You may catch yourself replaying the events, asking, "Why me?" or imagining how different life would be if things had gone another way. But here's the truth: the past is unchangeable, and clinging to it only keeps you stuck in the victim role. Real power comes from recognizing that your story is not written by someone else's actions. It is written by your choices, your mindset, and your courage to move forward with purpose. Rewriting your story begins with perspective. You have the power to reinterpret events, to take the lessons from betrayal or hurt, and to see them as stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. Every painful experience, every regret that someone else carries because of their actions becomes a chapter that shapes your resilience, your wisdom, and your strength. Instead of letting anger, bitterness, or resentment dictate the narrative, you choose empowerment. You decide that you are not a passive character in someone else's drama. You are the hero, the author, and the architect of your own life. When you rewrite your story, you also reclaim your voice. You stop letting other people's mistakes define your worth or your identity. You start to see that your value is inherent, untouchable, and not contingent on someone else's recognition, remorse, or apology. Every decision, every action, every moment you live intentionally becomes a declaration that your life is yours to shape. You take control of the plot, the direction, and the outcomes. Their regret may exist, but it no longer has the power to shape your path. The process of rewriting your story is not passive. It requires courage, discipline, and honesty. You must confront the pain, face the truth of what happened, and make a conscious choice to transform it into strength, insight, and purpose. And as you do, you discover something remarkable. Every hurt becomes a lesson. Every misstep becomes an opportunity, and every regret becomes a mirror reflecting your growth and your resilience. Ultimately, rewriting your story is about liberation. It is about refusing to be defined by the past, refusing to be held hostage by someone else's mistakes, and refusing to let regret dictate your life. You take the pen, and with clarity, courage, and vision, you write a story of empowerment, triumph, and unstoppable momentum. You are the author of your destiny, and no one's actions can ever change that. True strength is revealed not in moments of comfort or ease, but in how you respond to adversity, betrayal, and the mistakes of others. When someone has hurt you and is now steeped in deep regret, it's tempting to measure power by retaliation, to believe that making them feel the weight of their actions is the ultimate victory. But real strength is far deeper, far more enduring, and far more transformative. True strength is the ability to maintain your integrity, your clarity, and your peace regardless of what others do or feel. It's about rising above the noise, the guilt, and the hurt, and showing the world and yourself that nothing external can define your inner state.